Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm on the XKR and it just had an MOT not so long ago. A couple of front tyres which I did a little piece on the other day, which is really perplexing, so if you haven't seen that video, go back and check that out. I'll put a link in the description and up on the screen about what that was all about. But when we did the MOT, you also noticed the brakes on the back end, the brake pads were getting pretty low. So today is the day to get it done, because after today I'm sort of pretty solid with work and I'm using this car as a daily at the moment, so I need to make sure that it is up to scratch and properly fettled. So I don't know if you know much about XKR brakes or Jaguar brakes. It's very similar, I think, to my XF, which is a very similar sort of ish period. 2012 is my XF, this is a 2008 XK. Very similar from what I can tell, and I'm hoping it's a pretty straightforward thing. On the XF it is. So without further ado, let's have a look at it and see where we can get on. So, fairly obvious, I know, but the first thing to check is to make sure that your handbrake is released, otherwise you're not going to get the calipers off the discs, get the pads out. And that's a fairly easy thing to do. Before you turn the ignition off on the car, then basically just don't operate your park brake so that the park brake doesn't actually come on. And you should know, because down here on the dash on the left hand side under the speedo there will be a park brake symbol if the brake is on. And all you got to do is just turn the ignition off on the car and the handbrake will stay off. Okay, so we're all jacked, packed and chocked. Make sure she's not going to roll anywhere. And handbrake is free to turn. So we're all good there. Do you like my coloured brake calipers? Not my choice. I actually don't mind them given the colour of the car and the wheels, which I think is star graphite or something for the wheels, and pearl grey I think, although don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I looked it up. I thought it was lunar grey, but pearl grey on the car. It actually goes quite well in my personal opinion, but each to his own. If you don't like my calipers, then I'm sorry, I'm not painting them for anybody else. So I think simple as, slightly different to the XF, but simple as, take that plate off, get the spring out that retains them, sliders at the back, get those out so we can lift the whole caliper out, one at the top and one at the bottom, lift out the whole caliper and wind back the piston, put the new pads in, put it all back together, adjust it up. Let's get it done. Now, because this car hasn't been used in the winter time for quite a few years now, and especially I think since these brake calipers were painted, because I think it was a previous owner that painted these calipers based on the wheels that he put on it. So when I bought the car, it had brand new Oz GT wheels on it, this star graphite colour, which is I think the only colour they come in. Might come in black as well, but I'm not sure about that. But anyway, he modified his car, put these wheels on it, and I think he had the brakes done at the same time. And the car has done, I mean, I've done more miles in this car in the last 2 summers than he'd done the last 3-4 years, because it just didn't use it. It was COVID times and other things that were happening, so it was purely a toy for him. Currently it's my daily, but generally it's last summer it was a toy just to use for days out and just sort of like enjoy driving basically. So I'm hoping that pretty much what I'm trying to say is that everything's been off and it hasn't got covered in wet, mud, salt, dirt, crap since they were done. So I'm hoping that it's all going to come off fairly easy. And looking at these screws that I've just taken out, there's absolutely no rust or corrosion on them whatsoever. So I'm hopeful that the whole thing is going to be the same. Now we've got these sliders at the back. They've got caps on them, little plastic caps, one at top, one at bottom. I'm not expecting them to be tight. No, they're not. And they're moving. Just persuade them like a little bit with a screwdriver until you can get under the thread, just to push them back. The top one is a little bit stiffer than the bottom one, so I'm going to take that out and clean that one up. But that should get us somewhere where we need.
Right, next is the spring. I'm hoping this is going to come out. Now I don't really want to damage anything. Right, I've wrapped a little bit of insulation tape around the end of my screwdriver because I don't really want to damage the paint on the calipers. So here's hoping that I'm not going to. Fairly painless. Sometimes they seize in there. I've had it on my XF. The spring seizes in the hole and there's no way of getting it out other than bending the spring and really sort of mullering it really. Now in theory there's going to be slight binding with the, I've got a little lip on the top of the disc there, on the edge of the disc, so there's going to be slight binding with the pads coming out. In theory they should just pop out. I think I've loosened everything off. Yes, I have. It's coming out gradually, but it's being a bit of a pain. Oh, that's better. I can get under it now. Just make sure I'm not doing any damage. Oh dear. Really. Bit at a time, and she'll come. Watch the camera go flying in a minute because I'm right close to it with my screwdriver. And she's out, and that took a bit of doing, to be fair. But anyway, she's off. Right, I'm just going to tie the caliper up with a bit of string. Just temporary like, just so that I can get those sliders sorted and then wind back the caliper. It doesn't hang on the brake line. There we go. Right. There we go. Right. I think you can tell that they were pretty much due for change. So I'm glad that I've got them done. Inside one not quite so bad. There she goes. So my top slider is pretty tight, and I think I know why. So if I just peel back the rubber that it slides along in, what's happening is that the corrosion that's inside there is starting to bubble up and take up the space where the slider should be, which makes the slider tight. So the thing we've got to do is get that rubber slider out of there so that we can clean the corrosion up and gives us more space for the slider to move. Otherwise it'll just get worse and worse, and eventually your caliper will seize. Or rather, the moving part of it will seize, and you can't, and you know, you just wear your brake pads out quick. And that's probably why the outside one is worn more than the inside one, because it's not been releasing completely, because this slider is a little bit tight. So we need to get that out of there. So you can see what I mean. So the outside of this is not flat anymore. You see it's concaved, where the corrosion has pushed out into the rubber, which was then impacting on the inside diameter, making the slider pin tight on there. You can see the corrosion inside there. So we need to address that and get that out of there before it gets any worse. So I'll get that cleaned up. I think the bottom one's better. That seems to slide better, so I'm not too worried about that one, but we'll check it anyway. But yeah, you need to double check that, otherwise you're going to be doing your brakes again pretty soon. And that bottom one is not that much better. So that is going the same way. You can see the white corrosion that's in there. This isn't quite as bad. It was sliding a bit better, but we get it done. I think that looks, it's probably not focusing very well because I'm on an action camera and they don't focus great for close-ups. And same with the bottom one, way better now. Have a look. Oh yeah, look at that. Not the best angle, but you get the idea. I had to push that out with a screwdriver a minute ago. So that is improved that. Other one will be the same. Right, now we've got the lovely task of winding back the caliper itself, the actual piston, sorry. I hate that bit. Pretty much every modern car, automatic adjusting handbrake, automatic adjusting brakes on the back. To wind it back, you need a tool. For years, and I mean this, for years, I have got away with this simplest of simplest tools to wind back calipers, and it's a square block with different size pegs on and a 3/8 hole, square hole to take a 3/8 driver. And that is what I've used for years, literally years. Now granted, I don't do many modern cars, so I don't do this very often. All you need is a lot of brute strength in your right or your left arm, depending on whether you're left or right handed, because while you turn this to turn the piston, you've got to push it at the same time. But I've never had that problem. I've always just persevered, and eventually it's all gone in perfectly fine. Now, once I got my first Jag, which wasn't that long ago, and I did the brakes on it, I thought, I'll invest in a wind back caliper tool. And this is what I've got. It's a universal one. I can't remember the make of it. It's not best quality, but I'm not using it every day, so I'm not that bothered. It's got adjustable pins on the disc there that fit the holes depending on the width of the holes. You can adjust the pins to fit the holes in the caliper to turn, in the piston, to turn the piston in. So that's one thing, but it's okay. It's not too bad, but it is just fiddly to get in. And this one is a double-ended one, so it's got right-hand thread and a left-hand thread. So I can actually put this bit on the other end if I wanted to, like that, and turn the other end with the handle, because I've got a hole in there exactly the same there. So I need left hand thread because I'm going to turn it that way. I'm going to turn it inwards. There is also a plate which basically goes over this collar here, and this is the left-handed thread collar. And what you basically do is you offer up your caliper tool and you find the right width for your pins, and it is a bit fiddly to turn this to fit the pins, but it will do lots of different pins, so as in different holes. You can get some of these that have got a fixed distance on one side and a smaller fixed distance on the other, but that only limits you to 2 sizes. Now it is very fiddly and it is very awkward and ultimately annoying, but I'll get there in the end. And I'll probably, if I'm honest, I'll probably end up using my one that I've used for donkey's years, as long as I've got enough strength in my arm. Once I get it in. I have lubricated this more than once, but it's not very easy to move. In fact, it's a bit rubbish if I'm honest. But I don't need to invest in all singing or dancing one, because I just don't do enough of them to, there we go, I just don't do enough of them to warrant it. Now once that's the plate is actually on the face of the piston, I now wind in that collar so that the plate that is on the yoke here is hard up against the yoke, and then all I've got to do is basically turn this clockwise. One thing that is important before you start winding back brake calipers is to check your brake fluid. It's not brim full or anything. This one isn't. And as I wind the caliper back, the level of the brake reservoir is going to come up. You don't want that overflowing, so you've got to keep an eye on that. And as I turn it clockwise, it will force against the plate, so pushing the piston in and also turning it at the same time, which is what needs to happen. You can't just push them in. They've been like this for donkey's years. I say donkey's years, 20, 30 plus years probably now. Of course I'm used to, and that's the problem. When it gets a bit loose, it just turns out. Because I'm used to cables and all of that. Land Rovers don't have automatic brakes. They are just disc brakes all round, and the handbrake is a big set of shoes on the back of the transmission. And all my other cars are all, apart from my XF, are all exactly the same with the old school handbrake and cable. So, as I say, I bet you that I will end up using the tool I've always used, because the other problem is you've got to try and hold the damn caliper at the same time as well as turn it, and it's still not easy. It's still very tight. I've got a long way to go. And put my ratchet on, and it makes this thing a lot easier to use. And I think I'm actually buttoned out now. I'm down as far as it will go. I won't go any further down than that. So I've basically just got to unlock everything so to get it apart, and then I can get me pads in and everything back together. Right, well that's that tool out. That's the first time I've used it properly actually, because the last time I gave up with it, because it's actually just as difficult with my trusty old square block with the pins on. You just need the strength in your arm to push at the same time as turning, which takes a bit of doing as well. This one or this one, 50-50. Right, let's get it all cleaned up, get the pads in and get on with the other side. Right, what pads am I using? Well, I'm going to use Brembo. It's a standard Jaguar XK caliper on the back, nothing special, even though they've been painted up. I see lots of things. Oh, what brakes should I put on? Should I put on red stuff, yellow stuff? Should I spend £3 million on brake pads? Absolutely not. Why do you not just put standard pads on? I'm not going to go racing in it. I'm not going to do anything that it wasn't intended to do, this car. Just save your money and just go standard. I can't see the point. Brembo, as far as I'm aware, they're a good make. They're not cheap and nasty. They're about 30 quid for a set. Can't go wrong. I looked at EBC brake pads for this, 125, 130 pounds for a set of rear brake pads. God knows how much they are for the fronts. Why would you do that? Unless you're going to go track daying or you're going to do something really special with it. What is the point? So Brembo, that's what I'm going with. Let's get them in. Now you notice we have got a spring clip on this one. Now the spring clip is to hold what would normally be the wear pad sensor. This has not got wear pad sensors on it, so we don't need a spring clip, but that was the one that goes on the inside, and then the other one, it goes on the outside. Right, let's get the got the pads in. Let's get the caliper back on and get on with the other side. Made a bit of an error earlier. I used a Torx bit to get the slider pin out, and it wasn't Torx, it's hexagon, and it's a 7mm. So apologies for that, but I shall put it back in the correct way. Okay, put a bit of anti-seize inside there, and then we can pop the caps in, and they're happy days, so good to go. And then finally put the little plate on the outside. What am I saying? Forgot my spring. Get the right way up. Put the bottom one in first. That spring's in there like that. That goes in that hole there. There we go. Hammer in. And that holds everything nice and tight. Ready for when we adjust it up. Give it a nice clean round as best we can. There we go. That's better. There we go. Right, other side. And as if by magic, it's done on the other side. That is an exact replica to the other side that I've done first. So that is all complete. Wheels are on, torqued up, everything's happy. Both sides, all good. That just leaves, what do we do with the park brake? Well, on the XF, there's a procedure to go through, but I secretly think that there possibly might not need to do that procedure. There's lots of talk about putting it into service mode, using a computer and the Jaguar software to do it all. I've never had to do it on the XF, and I'm thinking that it's even easier on this. Now at the moment, the ignition is on. I haven't started the car, the handbrake is off. In other words, it's not actuated because I haven't got a red light, and all I've got to do really is just to pump the brake just very gently. I've put the cap back on the reservoir as well, by the way, pump the brake very gently just to take up the slack in the piston, and then literally, don't know if you heard that whine, but the whine was the handbrake motor pulling on the handbrake, and it's all good. We're there, we're done. And if I start it, you feel the pedal go down a little bit because of the servo, and I can release the brake and I can put the brake on. Into park, and we're on, we're done. Simple as that. Didn't disconnect the battery, didn't put it into service mode, none of that. So I'm going to take it for a road test, but I'm pretty happy that it's going to work. I've parked it under a tree out in the sunshine because it's absolutely sweltering day. It's one of the hottest days of the year. I think we're in our third, maybe fourth heat wave this summer. I'm absolutely loving it. I think it's glorious. It's fantastic weather. But I've parked it next to the Capri, two coupes together. But that is how you do the back brakes on an XKR 2008. I can't vouch for any other model year. I suspect up to 2008 or 2009, when we've still got the J-gate gearbox, then I think you've got just a standard handbrake repair like I've done today. No diagnostics needed or anything. Anything after that, so my XF has got the dial gear selector. Anything after that, you may need to do some kind of setup or you know, some kind of reset of the brakes on the electronics. But I've taken this for a road test. No faults have come up. Everything works. It pulls straight, it pulls solid, it brakes nice. Just got to go steady so that let the brakes bed in. Other than that, piece of cake really. But it is a very, very hot and sweaty day, and I'm glad to be finished the job. So there you go, two beauties together. There they go. I've got enough room here to have my own little car show, I think. I might do that one day. Invite a few friends round. Anyway, if you like what you see, then please subscribe to the channel, because then you can keep up with all the things we do here. You can see I've got the Capri out, I've got the Jaguar out, I've got over there our old tractor there, our old classic tractor, the beast that never stops. It always starts and works. I overheated it the other day quite badly and it still works. So that's a fantastic machine. We've got all the vintage tractors. I've got helicopters. Can you hear that? Not landing, thankfully, but I've got room for that if I needed to. We've got classic cars, we've got modern cars, we've got auctions, we've got steam rallies. If you want to keep up with it, put a subscription down, like the video, go to our playlist, see what else we're doing, and until the next time, it's great to have you along here this time, but I'll catch you on the next one, and I'll see you next time. Take care.